Okay, hello and welcome to the 17th letter of the Copperplate Majuscule alphabet. So this is the majuscule for a Q. Today I have my oblique holder with a Nico G nib and some watercolor ink. Nico G nibs are very durable, any G nibs are, so particularly if you're a beginner or if you're using harsher inks, maybe an iron gall ink or an acrylic ink, both of those eat through your nibs quite quickly if you don't know how to properly care for them. So if you're sort of newer to the game, I would definitely recommend G nibs. They're much more durable. Okay, so with a Q here, my X height is 5mm, so my majuscule will be 15mm tall, and I am going to start with an oval. It's going to be parallel along my slant line. I've got some skipping because I took ages starting in the beginning. There we go. Just join that together. Okay. All right. So what I could do at this point is I could go back if I wanted and make this a thicker downstroke. I'll choose if I want to do that at the end. Just if it balances my letter better, but currently I have just an unfinished oval basically that has come to the bottom and stopped. At this point I could just continue on. I have seen it where people loop up, so as if it's like the bottom of a D, where they continue the loop onwards and then go back over. For me, I find that this can encroach on this space that you're trying to keep parallel as much as possible. So I don't like doing that. I would rather, if I move my ink really quickly, I would rather rotate my writing surface. I wish that I'd done this. There's my practices. That I'd done this on a smaller writing surface, but never mind, here we are. So now my pen is 90 degrees. That just makes it so much easier for me going in at this angle so that I can create a lovely little line there. A little bit of a hesitation, but that's okay. So let me rotate that back around. That's me finding my ink bottle. Okay, let me clean my nib off really quickly and we'll get into this. Okay, so with a Q, it is possible to start from the 12 o'clock. You see that I didn't. I start from here and I carry on forwards, but if it is easier for you, you can stop at the 12 o'clock. So if I point at this right here, and we say you at the complete wrong angle here, there we go. So you can start at 12 o'clock and do your shade this way and carry on and do your bottom bit and then go back and do your left. That's absolutely fine. You just need to be careful that if you do this side is not a downstroke. So it has to be light on one side and thicker on the other. Whatever is on the inside, so if you have a loop like I do that comes back over, will contain an unfinished oval right here. So I can shade that in right there. And everything else that I've tried to do in this negative space is to be parallel to the line of the oval as much as I could, eyeballing it, obviously, of course. At this point, so this point exactly right here is where I turn my paper. I find it easier to turn my paper. If you don't, then it's by no means a requirement. But can, I think I'm in frame there, I am. Can turn paper here. Okay, this space right here should be gradually increasing. Yeah, so you can see the negative space. Negative space is gradually increasing. Okay. So there are a few other rules of this. So with the bit at the bottom, it's possible that you can do a loop. I'll show that in a second, but however far down this goes, and I mean I have tried to eyeball it as best possible, is exactly containing how low you can go with the rest of your swoop to that right hand side. It therefore means that whenever you contain this negative space under here, it's the same negative space as is contained on the top. So you should have something that is bisecting that space that you've carved out. Okay, so that should be true whether or not you're doing a loop or whether you're doing a stop and start like I do. So we could have something like, where's my guidelines? There they are. So we could try and do it all in one go. That's not something that I usually do. Oh, I've gone far too big as well. So I stop here normally. The way I've seen it done is that this can loop. But see, then I've dropped too low here. I'll try that again. Because it may just be whatever works for you, but I'll try a little bit here. I do think I went too high also, so that may be the issue. Yeah, there we go. Oh, and of course I'm out of frame because of my ink pot. There we go. Okay, so I could continue this on, I could loop it, whatever. I do think with what I've drawn here that this gap is too big. So I would continue this up just to continue that parallel space right here. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing it all in one go. Just for me, I do prefer stopping and starting, twisting my paper. I find that easier for my wrist. But my writing angle is about as close as you can get to 90 degrees. I know some people like to write with their paper straight up, and that's absolutely fine. It's just whatever is comfortable for you. Okay. So with a Q, your legibility box is sort of in a strange place because the letter itself is not fully formed. It's not a contained letter. Obviously, we're used to seeing it, you know, a very obviously contained oval with some kind of line intersecting towards the bottom somewhere usually. We don't have that here. Because it isn't contained means that it needs to have the suggestion of being contained. So you can see quite obviously, particularly on the first one that I drew, that the space up here is very obviously, you could draw a line here very easily and have a contained pleasing space. And it has a line that does bisect into that, even if it is lower. But it means that we have legibility boxes that are very oddly placed almost. So if I have, do I have a black pen somewhere? Oh, I do. There we go. So I can point it out on here. So on a Q, your legibility boxes are basically everything on this right hand side. I don't want to put too much on it. I might redo one. That'll give me a little bit more space. Oh, wrong ink. Happens all the time. Totally professional here. There we go. Corner of owning a cat. Forever getting cat fur on my nib somehow. Right. Okay. So with a Q, if I do this again, that's my angle. There it is. Okay. Okay. So you can see that again, I've tried to level off the bottom of my area, so I'm not going any lower, and I've tried to bisect that area. Your legibility boxes have got to be here first and foremost, so you can, for example, loop this back on yourself should you want to. So we could continue that on and loop back. That's not going to reduce our legibility here. So if you do want to flourish right here, this is a flourishable area, which I could put right here. My slim frame, oh yeah, all good. So flourishable area. Okay, so you have a legibility box there. You also have a legibility box of this oval shape. I personally wouldn't bisect it, purely because the oval, the contained oval, so the one in the middle, is not 15 millimeters tall. So mine here is barely even 10. So because it's shorter, I wouldn't bisect it at all. Not to say that you can't come out of it, so we could continue a flourish on if you wanted something there, do something fun over here, whatever. So we could curl that way and whatever, but you can continue the line, but I wouldn't bisect this space. I would say that this area here is your legibility box, so this oval is also legibility, so I wouldn't touch either of those areas when you're flourishing, otherwise you're going to lose the readability of your letter. Okay, I've seen Q's done a lot of different ways. This is the way that I found that works for me. I know people have been struggling with the backwards motions, so that's why I'm suggesting you can go from the top if need be. Just be mindful that this is not a heavy stroke down, so you're gonna have to be very, very light on your nib. But that's the best way forward I could think of for this. Have a good day.